let's talk about burying the lead in fiction writing. You might have heard about this in journalism, and that's kind of where it comes from. But it can happen in your book too. So a lead is basically the interesting part of the story, the hook, as you might be used to calling it. Now, in journalism, you want to get to that as soon as possible. People don't like a lot of fluffy build-up, they're trying to read the newspaper or their news articles quickly before their coffee is over, and they need it quickly. So you can't bury the lead, get to it quickly. Now, the funny thing is that in newspapers, there are headlines. So you might want to start the story of the girl winning the National Spelling Bee with a, lead up to her life and how she started and how she got into it, and then reveal, and then she won at the end. But guess what? The headline already gave that away. The headline for that story will be Girl Wins National Spelling Bee, so it's already spoiled, Now, the same is going to be true for your book. Now, I'm not saying you can't have a little lead up. You need that ordinary world before the cool stuff happens, but your title and your cover image and your back of the book description are all going to give away the lead, the hook, the thing that people are going to want to read about. Yes, there's like 2-3 chapters in Harry Potter before Hagrid shows up and takes him to Hogwarts, but on the back, we know it's a magic school, and on the front, he's flying on a broomstick. Yes, there's some lead up with Marty McFly going over to Doc's office and so on, but the movie's called Back to the Future. We know that they're going to go in a time machine. In those first couple chapters, the reader is kind of playing pretend, okay, I know that we're eventually going to get to the magic school, but I'll, pretend that I don't know that that's where that's going. And you don't want to force that for too long. Otherwise, the reader can feel like the pacing is just taking way too long to get to the story that they want to read about. If you sold them a story about winning the national championships and we spend the first 100 pages at tryouts, gosh, right? Now, you might be saying, Christina, isn't it realistic to talk about tryouts? I mean, everybody had to try out to get on the team. You can't just skip to the national championships. Yes, but that's not the story you're telling. Let's put it this way. If you were going to tell your friend about how you won the national championships, would you start with, and in September, I tried out for the team, and of course not. What? Who would do that? You'd probably start much closer to the action, maybe a few games beforehand, but if the story is about national championships, then you probably are going to start there. So basically ask yourself, what is this story about? And if the thing that you say doesn't happen until a few dozen or 100 pages into the book, you might want to rework that. Again, this is a writing rule, and for all writing rules, there are exceptions. I actually talked about a book that did this very poorly. It's called Patricia Wants to Cuddle. You can find the video on my page somewhere. It's basically, it advertises on the front page and on the back cover a Sasquatch romance. And she's on the cover, and you expect that that's what it's going to be about, but she doesn't show up until, I'd say, the last, 20 pages. She's hinted at throughout, kind of like a horror movie, but she doesn't personally arrive until the very end of the book. And I was waiting the whole time to see her, and nothing. So that was really disappointing. That may be more of the case of false advertising and not selling the real lead. The real lead of that is a Bachelorette, a filming of the Bachelorette show gone wrong, but they used the lead of a Sasquatch, and so I was disappointed. So I guess that there's 2 pieces of advice here. 1, you should figure out what your lead actually is and make sure that you deliver on it eventually. And 2, you should make sure that you deliver on it, not eventually, but quickly. Food for thought. Good luck and happy writing.